Okay, so I'm now going to show you the marketing front end. So this is the main website that everything's controlled from. We can jump into here. So on my local host, I have the Redbubble part of the website open at the moment. I've only got the Redbubble up and running because I haven't actually done any endpoints to the other sites at the moment. So I'm just concentrating on Redbubble. I have a shop on there, so I can actually pull through my data from that shop. So as you can see, the scraper there's only one showing there for some reason. Oh, that's because I was testing it. Bear with me. Let me just fix that a second. Work. Yeah, let's just run that bit out. Right, that should bring back all the data from the site. There we go. So the Redbubble scraper has gone off and scraped the Redbubble site and actually deposited those entries into the MongoDB and actually pulled in the imagery and also placed those in the MongoDB as well. I am debating whether I could use Google Drive to do this, but at the moment they're quite small images for the actual thumbnails themselves, and also the marketing image is quite small, so I'm quite happy with actually storing them inside a document DB for the time being. As you can see, it's only scraped 4 of the images because the actual image scraping is a different process entirely, and that's taken control by the image acquisition endpoint, which is a different API to the Redbubble scraper, and that is an endpoint that pulls in the image link, and from that link it pulls in the base 64. Before it does that, it actually puts into a queue, so we can actually queue them up and basically balance the amount of traffic there is. So if I wanted to pull large images, I can, and that's all done via a separate API, a separate queue that just runs in the background. And that one, if I go back to my flowchart, there's the media acquisition API there with the queue sitting in there. At the moment it's actually writing to MongoDB. As you can see, this red line here, it's writing straight to MongoDB. It's not passing through the data store API as of yet. That will change. That will change. Everything will actually go through this data store API. But the actual entries you see there on screen, let's get to the right screen. Here you can actually see those are being actually pulled through the data store API. And for the thumbnails that don't appear here, this is no image file because they haven't actually been pulled yet. If you look at the Redbubble Wrangler, what actually happens is that it actually makes 2 calls out, one to the Redbubble scraper that pulls in all the artwork data, and therefore with the artwork data it will actually get an image link, and then it can use that image link later to pull in the media acquisition. And that was a thing that I programmed after, so this is the reason why you've got no images in here. When I actually get this scheduler to kick again, the actual Wrangler will kick on the schedule, which I haven't implemented the schedule yet, then that image data will come down and actually get stored and display in the image list. But back to the actual website itself, you can see here that I've got, at the moment there's obviously only one Redbubble shop. Clicking on these will display the other shops and the other images related to those shops. And here we've got shop and social media. Click on social media, and these are the actual social media templates that will be used to actually create the post for that platform. So we've got Instagram there, we've got Tumblr and Facebook at the moment, so they all differ in the template. There's a basic template on there at the moment, so this is just tag replaces in the template and the ratio of the image that will be placed in the template. Each of the social media platforms do have a different ratio for the image to be displayed in there, so I have to actually conform to that and actually manipulate the image to that ratio, which is done by the media manipulation API, which is partly done at the moment, but it's not actually in effect, it's not being used. So I can actually manipulate the media to whatever ratio I want, whatever size I want, and then that can be used, the resulting image can be used in the actual post to the actual Instagram or Twitter or wherever you want to. But I'm not actually at that stage yet. I'm actually just dealing with data coming in and sorting out the artwork data before we actually post it out. So that's why these ones are in the green, because these are actually virtually complete. So I need some more stuff in the marketing website at the Marketeer website at the moment. Going back to the Marketeer website, go back to shop. I have the entries down here, and what I can do is I can see the schedule of when, where and when they're going to be posted. So I'm going to be posting 3 times to Instagram, 3 times to Facebook. They're all free at the moment because it's just test data in here. And I can jump into 1 or 2 of these. If I go click 2 of these and go promote chat, and this is where I actually set up the posts for the social media platforms for each of the artworks themselves. So I'm just doing it for base artwork at the moment. I'm not doing it for product artwork. That will come at a later date. So I'm trying to really do the MVP, minimum viable product, at the moment. And if we look on this site, I've selected 2 images, so I've pulled these images here, and it's got a calendar here. This is going to disappear, so we don't have to worry about that. So we've got the title of the image, piece of artwork, the actual artwork itself, and a schedule. So if we look at the top here, I've got targeted social media, so this is for the Instagram schedule, and then we've got Facebook, YouTube, etc. So I can click on Instagram, and I can schedule throughout the year or years of when I actually want the post to be placed on Instagram. If I move over to Facebook, I can do the same here. What I want. So these are days that there's going to be a Facebook post. There's a singular post to Facebook or a singular post to Instagram, wherever you want. So as you can see, flipping back and forth, you get that change of data, and the same way for the other piece of artwork. There is no commit button because this is self-committing, so once you've done this you can actually click out, and what will happen is that you'll see that these have turned red and the commit changes are sitting here ready to be commit, so I can actually push these to my endpoint if I so desire. I haven't got a cancel button there at the moment. That'll be one of the actual jobs for the future that I can place in there, so I can actually cancel the actual the setup of the actual social media posts if I don't want them to go ahead. But if I go commit changes, you can see these tallies have now changed. I'll do the same for this one. So that means, and though that hasn't actually gone out to the endpoint at the moment, that will be queued ready for the social media scheduler to actually look at the data that's been posted and go, right, these are the posts I need to do today, and I'll do those now, and then the next day it will find the other social media posts, etc., etc., and they will actually, it will take that post, schedule it, and literally place the post in the queue with all the tags replaced with the artwork data and the artwork tags and the title, and then when it comes to the time, the scheduler will actually send the information to the Instagram endpoint, the Twitter endpoint, whatever social media endpoint there is, post it on there and mark that as being that job being done. And that will actually, we'll be able to actually see that in real time via the reports section, which I haven't implemented yet. And that's one of the reasons why I'm using a real-time database for the actual social media posts, is that we can actually get a live view of what actually is being posted, what's being scheduled to post, and past posts. So we can actually build up throughout the year almost like a scatter diagram of what's being posted on what platform and at what date and what time. What else can I show you on this? So actually I think that's about it on that one. What I'll go over to is show you the other endpoints now as well. So we'll be looking at both the Redbubble Scraper API, the Wrangler, and the Data Store API, and the Media Acquisition API as well. That's worth getting into. So I've loaded up the Redbubble Wrangler and the Redbubble Scraper. So the Redbubble Scraper allows you to actually scrape the Redbubble site itself. So Redbubble doesn't actually offer an API per se. They don't have any API to actually allow you to do anything with this site, to automate anything on there. And it's the same with quite a few POD sites. They don't offer that facility. But we can actually get around that by creating our own, which allows us to walk the DOM of the actual site itself, the artist page, and to actually pull in the information from there. So if I look at my Marketeer process flows, and this is a scrape process for Redbubble. So I've got the Redbubble scraper sitting here, and I've got get what free routes, get artwork list, get artwork details, and get tags. The reason why they're free routes is because all this information is in different parts of the actual site itself. So if we look at the artist shop, this is a Redbubble website here, actual site map of the top level of the shop. You have the artist shop where it has all the designs. Now when you click on one of the designs, it goes to the design page where it holds the artwork of the actual image itself. And from there, to get to something like all the tags that are used for that artwork image, you have to go to one of the product pages and actually pull the tags in from there, because then those tags are not actually available on this design page, although those tags are the same across all the product pages. On the product page, obviously you'll have a product image and the product detail. So this is the reason why there is 3 different routes here. So we get artwork list, which actually gets listed artwork and actually pulls in some of the top level detail itself. We can actually drill into these details and get the rest of the details we need, including the product image links and the artwork image link itself. Get tags, well actually you need to drill all the way down to actually product image to get that. So that's the scraper, and I will show you that. It's on 300. It's a separate API, so sitting there. So when I enter the scraper, I've done a little bit of slightly out of date now. I've got to update this. A little bit of documentation there. It needs a bit of formatting in it. That just explains the routes, the actual HTTP verb that's used, and what it's expected to return. So for here, for instance, I can actually use this call to only return the top 2, so I'll do that. Did I just go to that, or did it go to the top level route? What just happened? Wait for that to return. I think that's actually pulling back all of them. Obviously I have a routing issue there which I have to resolve. So I need to add that to my backlog. Right, so that reminds me about that. So yeah, it's definitely pulled back them all. So this is all the artwork on there. So we can actually see them all sitting there, and actually the address here is the actual artwork ID itself. That's the artwork ID. So if I followed that link, I would actually get to that page of the site, that piece of artwork. So that would drop me straight into that piece of artwork there. So there's the artwork along with all the products, and down the bottom should be, oh no, so that's on products, isn't it? If you enter the product, and down the bottom should be all the tags. There we go. So No, it's just disappeared. There we go, all product tags. So there you go. So that throws you straight, and that link is used to scrape for the rest of the data. So if we look back at our documentation, we can actually see in here that our next command down is the scrape details artwork. So we can use that in there. Details of artwork. Oops. And we want the artwork ID, and I'm going to use this one. And that will take me to the actual page itself. So just waiting for the host there. And there we go. So that's the actual order details of that scraped from that page. Order products, sitting there. I can use one of those product links to get the tag as well, which is one of the calls in there. And we've got title, long description, etc., etc. So that's all been scraped from that site. So there's the scraper. Now the Wrangler uses the scraper to actually update the MongoDB itself, which then allows us to actually pull that into our website. So we've got a number of calls in here which use the scrape. We've got a refresh all, which actually looks at what data we've currently got and then looks at what data is available and then refreshes that data if there's been a change. Now I can actually show you that. If I take that count, so this refreshes the top two. So what I'm going to do is have a look at my marketing one. So I've got these here, these four. I'm going to say refresh top 5, which will allow me to actually pull in this this fifth one here. To actually pull in the image there, so that will actually do that. As a matter of fact, it won't, because I need the image acquisition API up and running, which deals with actually pulling in images. So let's open up a new one. Image acquisition. Run. So just load this one up, and that means that will be there ready to take requests from the Wrangler itself. So if we look back at our document, you can see that there's media acquisition. So the Redbubble Wrangler will go off, pull from the scraper, and also the media acquisition to actually pull in any image there. The reason why there's a separate endpoint there is because that can be quite a big task if the images are large. So that will queue them up, and if we're load balancing, we can actually have a number of those API, and well, if this was in the if it's sitting in the cloud, we can actually scale horizontally to allow many APIs to actually deal with our requests coming in. So that's the reason why that's a separate API. Now, if I jump back to scraper on that one and have a look, so this is now up and running. Port 303, 3003, sorry, that's chuck the call in here. And I'm going to update 5. So we call that, and at the moment it's saying that URL is not available. Why is that? That's because there's 2 Wranglers on there. Let's try that again. So what this will do now is this will go off. If I look at what's happening down here, at my different endpoints. So as you can see, this is going off trying to our Wrangler is set there, and it's connected on 3001, and this is now going off and scraping. It's getting the tags at the moment, so it's doing a call to the actual there we go. So the actual Redbubble scraper, pulling in tags and actually completing the data in the MongoDB, seeing if it needs updating at all. If we look at our scraper, you can see this is chugging away here. And you can see it's got links coming in asking it for tag information. I need to actually change the console out on here to actually show what it's doing. And if we jump to the last endpoint, which is our image acquisition, and you can see here that it's adding messages to the queue. So here it's brought in an image, and it's added that image to the queue, asking it to be acquired into the actual system because the checksums have changed. So we'll actually create a checksum for those images, and we can see if they've changed and whether the data needs updating. So we don't do any unnecessary data updates. All messages have been processed, so everything has stopped now, I believe. No, we're still pulling in data. So this is actually going to be quite a long process, so this is the reason why it's done on a schedule, because we're basically visiting each of those sites, pulling in the data, and also there's a bit of a time delay because we don't want our API to be blacklisted, because it can look, if you're using scrapers against certain sites, it can look, if you're running at speed, it can look like you're trying to actually commit do an attack on the site to actually swamp the site with a number of calls. So they'll actually look at your IP address, look at how you're calling it, find that the calls aren't actually humanly possible. It actually has to be done by a machine, so it's so quick, and they can actually ban your IP address. So here I'm making sure that there's a bit of a delay in between to actually stop that from happening. So if we take a look back at what's going on, I'm saying all messages have been processed. As you can see here, they'll just come back. So these are the 5 requests that have been sent out, and you can actually see that where it's been, these are set for accepted. That's the image save, so that's thrown it over to the other endpoint and told it that I want these to be updated. And you can see here we've got the archived is history that's been updated because things have changed, and this updated here is those 5 have been at some point modified on the site, on the actual Redbubble site, so they've been updated. And what we can now look at is our Marketeer website. See, it's all come back here, and if I refresh this site, we should see a 5th image. There we go, there's our 5th image in. So that's all been updated now, all working. So that's the actual Wrangler and the actual scraper working. We can actually send individual IDs as well. So if I jump into one of these, just to get the ID, that ID there, and I can actually call via the Wrangler fresh one. I may already have this fresh one, and pass it I didn't really want to refresh that one. Let's pass it a ID. Enter. So that's gone off and done 2 requests at the moment. jump into what's going on here. So we can see this is been 2 requests that have come in, and that's now going through and refreshing those 2 requests. So what should happen is that once those are finished, as they've done there, we can actually jump into, there we go. And what should happen is that when we look at our data now, we should see that we've got a bit of a gap, and there's the other image. So that's being refreshed, all nicely updated. So that's the Wrangler, the scraper, and the image acquisition actually working all together. And that is, I think that's enough to show you for devlog 1. Let me just jump into my project itself. So I've set up a project on GitHub with Kanban board, and also if I jump to my GitHub page, I've got 2 pages, one for the actual Vue website and one for the actual endpoints themselves. And you can actually see that I've got the individual endpoints in here. So these all got tests on there as well. A lot of these are done by using test-driven development, and you can see we've got the Wrangler, the scraper. I've got a simple image upload that I'm not using at the moment. The image acquisition, I've also done the image resizer. That's not being used at the moment. That just resizes the images, adds it can add watermarks over the top of the images, etc., etc., to actually get them to the right size for the actual the social media platform that I'll be actually targeting. Got the data store as well. So this data store is basically a way of getting the data into MongoDB. It's very simplistic. Basically, it's just read and writes. This one's not. I was using adapters before. This one's using the Mongoose ODM, and it's also done as MVC APIs. A few stuff to actually clear out of there. Everything's async. I don't know what else to actually talk about in here. Yeah, I think that actually will do for the moment. And I have been working on this extensively. Go back to my main site, your profile. You can see that I've been working. This is when I started the actual Marketeer project. So around here, so I've been working basically a month on this project. I started on the 31st, and now it's the September the 9th. So a bit late with this video, but that's a whole month of this project. This bit here is an actual game that I did. So that's a freelance game that I actually worked on, and this one is the Marketeer project I'm doing at the moment. So that's how far I'm up to at the moment. So please join me in devlog 2 in a month's time, and also look back at the previous video, which actually explains the whole idea itself and where the idea originated from. Thanks a lot. See you again.